called this new response the conditioned reflex. Whatever the stimulus, his dogs could soon be conditioned to produce saliva. Pavlov believed that he had discovered how animals learned.
It's a frightening thought. Islamic terrorist training camps right here in America, in our backyards. The video called The Soldiers of Allah features Sheikh Mubarak Ali Ghanali, the mastermind and the leader of the group here in the U.S.
Federal prosecutors claim Ahmed Mohammed posted a video on YouTube demonstrating how a remote-controlled toy could set off a bomb.
2,682 days since 9/11/2001. I want to thank George Bush for keeping this country safe in the interim 7 years. And I just want to look in the camera. This is the last time I'll be on this show when he's my president and my commander-in-chief, and say thank you, sir. I feel privileged that you were the president during this time in America.
New white Al-Qaeda army. Tougher to detect, potentially.
Yeah, because they're not Muslims. They look just
exactly
like regular people. They're converts.
This is a new kind of terrorism. It is not only coming from outside the United States in, but it is also growing inside our own country.
The 7 compounds we were aware of, and asked our leaders to watch this tape, either accept or reject Sheikh Gilani's call to be an Islamic guerrilla warfare training camp. None of them rejected that.
What I last heard, the U.S. government has stopped over 31 attacks against the U.S. since 9/11.
But yes, 7 people have been arrested in the Miami area. Officials say the plotters were in the early stages of planning an attack on the Sears Tower in Chicago.
They hoped for their attacks to be, quote, just as good or greater than 9/11.
Terrorism, endless war. Why? Who benefits? Those who benefit are the beneficiaries of the current system, financiers primarily. So they have manufactured, in a complete hysteria, a largely fictitious external enemy.
On February 23rd, 1993, a bomb went off beneath the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. The bomb was in a truck on a timed device in level B2 of the garage. The explosion went 7 stories up, killing 6 people and injuring more than 1,000. According to the 9/11 Commission report, Yamzi Youssef, a Sunni extremist, planted the bomb.
It was supposed to be a sting operation where they had an FBI informant find a group of people that were allegedly going to do something harmful in the future to the United States, organize them, and do a sting operation on them to arrest them. However, that didn't happen. The bomb did go off in the basement of the World Trade Center, and they did arrest these individuals by FBI agents that actually did their job, the field agents, and come to find out that all of them had been on the CIA payroll in Afghanistan.
Contrary to the 9/11 Commission report, apparently Imad Salem, a 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, was used by the United States government to penetrate a circle of Muslim extremists. Mr. Salem secretly recorded hours of his conversations with the law enforcement officers that told him to build the bomb. Salem wanted to complain to FBI headquarters about the Bureau's failure to stop the bombing. But Agent John Aktasev persuaded him otherwise, saying, quote, "I don't think the New York people would like the things out of the New York offices to go to Washington, D.C." Agent Nancy Floyd verified Imad Salem's account. The Independent reported that several of the bombers were trained by the CIA to fight in the Afghan war, and that the CIA admitted partial responsibility for the bombings. Ron Kuby, defense attorney, said concerning the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, quote, The mastermind of the 1993 WTC bombing is the government of the United States. It was a phony government-engineered conspiracy to begin with, and it would never have amounted to anything had the government not planned it. Had the government not planned it. Had the government not planned it. Had the government not planned it.
It took 3 years and 3 trials, but a group of Florida men accused in a plot to destroy Chicago's Sears Tower are each facing decades in prison. The group's ringleader could be sentenced to 70 years in prison. His co-conspirators could get between 30 and 50 years behind bars. Prosecutors say the men tried to join forces with an undercover FBI agent they thought was a member of Al-Qaeda. Investigators recorded dozens of audio and videotape with the men discussing the Sears Tower attack as well as plans to bomb FBI offices. Their lawyers argued that the men were never serious about carrying out the plot. The defense claimed their real motive was to get money for a fledgling business and community outreach program. After the verdict was read, the one Liberty 6 member who was acquitted called the prosecution of his friends bogus. He went on to say the group's purpose was to help their impoverished and drug-ridden Miami neighborhood.
Nasriel Batiste was the man's name, Prince Manna to his followers. He ran a small sect of the Moorish science temple called the Seas of David out of a boarded-up storefront in the impoverished Liberty City area. Batiste was desperate. "I'm exhausted financially," he told Brother Muhammad. "That's why I'm here." Before long, Muhammad had furnished the Seas of David with a warehouse to train in. He picked the FBI's Miami bureau as their first target and asked the group to videotape the building. He provided them with video equipment and a van for the operation. He even led the group in an Al-Qaeda loyalty pledge. When Batiste came to him with a plan to blow up the Sears Tower, Muhammad promised him $50,000 cash and the supplies necessary to carry out the attack. But when the group, now known as the Liberty City 7, went to trial, Brother Muhammad wasn't among the accused. That's because the financier, whose real name is Eli Assad, was an FBI informant paid $80,000 by our government to cultivate the cell. To cultivate the cell.
The notion of a U.S. war on terrorism is simply a fraud. There is no war on terrorism. The Anglo-Americans are backing terrorists exactly when and where it suits them.
Breaking news. The FBI says it has thwarted a terror plot. 4 men arrested in an undercover FBI sting.
The FBI, this was a plot to blow up 2 synagogues and a community center all in the Bronx. It was not a plan in its early planning stages. It was not hypothetical. According to the FBI, the 4 men intended to carry out their plan today, to blow up the 2 synagogues and later to use surface-to-air missiles to take out military aircraft. The 4 men were arrested today, according to the FBI, as they were putting cars loaded with what they believed to be C4 explosives around 2 synagogues.
Our single biggest strategic challenge is Al-Qaeda.
Was provided by the FBI operatives, and again, the men believed they were putting their plan into effect today.
They were a genuine threat. Yes. Based on what they were attempting to do, and based on their actions. They planted, chocolate or bags, but they believed to be, to contain explosives in front of 2 assemblies.
Did they have any experience in knowing what they had, if what they had was real?
No, not that real.
FBI operatives are the people who provided the fake C4 and actually showed them a fake Stinger missile. And according to the FBI, these 4 men did not have enough experience with any of those to know whether they were real or whether they were inert. But it was an FBI operative who showed them, sold them those devices, and their plan, again, according to the FBI.
This is a typical British strategy. You've got to know the name of Brigadier General Sir Frank Kitson. What Kitson saw, which has been known to the commanders for centuries, millennia, if you've got an underground nationalist organization and you want to discredit them, you create your own parallel underground nationalist organization. You send them out, it's got to have the same name, it's got to have a false flag. You send them out, have it commit tremendous atrocities. Those will be blamed on the original relatively benign group, and they'll be discredited, they'll be demonized, and you gain political advantage. And the technique is called the technique of the counter-gang or the pseudo-gang. Just as Al-Qaeda, in the broader sense, is a pseudo-gang or counter-gang created by U.S. and British and Israeli intelligence. It's a counter-gang against normal Arab nationalists or anybody with any positive agenda for reform or independence or development anywhere in the Arab world. They can always be labeled Al-Qaeda.